Watching with a keen eye was former referee and FIFA instructor Janie Frampton. Janie, they did their best, but they were on the day they were outplayed, weren't they?
Yes, good morning. Obviously, I was beyond excited yesterday, but it was really clear from the beginning, Spain were dictating the play. And once the opposition starts to dictate the play, it's very difficult for you to play your own game. And that's what happened. We were following play the whole game. So we were pretty much second best, unfortunately, even though it was a fabulous spectacle for women's football.
Now, I'm not going to go too much into football punditry here, Andrew, because I'd be as on thin ice as you would be. But once they got to that injury time, that last 10 minutes, they went for it in a way that they hadn't done for the previous 90 minutes before that. I think it's about 13 minutes, wasn't there, of injury time. And I don't think they had the real fire in their bellies. Partly, you might say, because there was no King Charles there was no Prince William there was no Prime Minister there. Maybe having those figures there in the stand might have given them that extra kind of impetus in the sense that they've got to rise to the occasion.
So I think there's two parts to that. I think firstly, the last 10 minutes you can afford to throw caution to the wind, which strategically and technically you wouldn't do earlier on in the game. Now, whether or not having a member of our royal family then made a difference, I would think possibly not. Although I do have an opinion that I do feel either Prince William or our Prime Minister should have been there. I heard yesterday there may have been some royal protocols that prevented Prince William, which is fine. But if that was the case, we should have had our Prime Minister there. You know, to send our Foreign Secretary, I didn't think was really appropriate. It didn't send the right message.
The King, as King Charles, has not been to Australia since he succeeded the throne a year ago. It would be inappropriate for his son to go before him. So what? We haven't had a football team in a World Cup final since 1966. Let's rip up the convention book or the protocol book and get him out there. I think it was just an excuse. He was on holiday and he didn't want to go. I think he's either stubborn or lazy or both.
I'm with you. I'm with you all the way. You know, this was a one-off moment. This is going to change the face of girls and women's football, without a doubt, regardless of the fact that our women didn't win the game. It is going to change the face. And already it's opening so many conversations now, which I heard you touch on earlier, you know, particularly about the coach, particularly about the pay of the women and what next, and the accessibility for girls, young girls, to be able to play football.
And Janie, I looked at some figures before this World Cup. 47% of secondary schools were offering football for girls. Do you expect this figure's going to soar now, not least because girls will be demanding the chance to play football?
Yes, you know, this has been an argument for years, and I still don't think that 47% is high enough. More so, there's a higher coverage. I think it's something like 75% in primary schools. For the secondary schools, we need to do better than that. But in actual fact, we need to do better than those percentages across all sports now for young people. How are we ever going to get the next generation to be sort of fit and healthy? There's a massive knock-on effect. But we have to stop this. This is for boys. This is for girls. We have to just throw that away and just say everybody has to have access to whatever sports. It's not difficult. It's not complicated.
Do you have any idea, Janie, when the next big women's football event we can look forward to? What will be the next one? Because we don't want to lose the momentum, do we? Particularly, you know, I've got two teenage girls. Getting them to do any sport, frankly, is difficult often. They have too much interesting things to look at on their phones, most of the kids these days. They don't want to go out and do sport. It's a real effort to make them. So how do we keep this momentum going now with women's football?
Yeah, I think there's several things. First, let's look at the basics. We need to get more football in schools. You look at the rise of the Women's Super League attendances now. They've risen by 61% since the Euros. That is phenomenal. And also, I could probably spend all day talking about the argument of the extra money that's bringing in and where that's going, but we won't touch that. But I think we've got the Euros next. So every 2 years we have either the Euros or the World Cup. And I think our girls are going to be, they're just going to get better and better. They've got such amazing mental strength. Yesterday, Spain were just the better team. We couldn't get away from that. You know, technically I could talk about we were second to the ball, we gave them too much space, and all of those things that were so obvious through the game.
Thank you, Janie.
On the day.
Sorry to interrupt you. Former referee and FIFA instructor Janie Frampton there. Don't go anywhere.